Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
Do we need to come? Sorry. Are we ready? Is that a clap? That meant to have started? See, when you do that, that's like the one moment I go, yep, Ryan's a pro. All right, so this is for Clementine and Otis. So if you want to feel good about yourself, volunteer. Like, it's the best thing you can do. I've done it, numerous times in my life. And if you're in Australia and also around the world, you may have heard of an organisation called Habitat for Humanity. Now, at the moment, I'm based in Australia, and as many people have heard, our country was hit by vast bushfires a couple of years ago, just completely devastating. And Habitat for Humanity in that time have been, like providing emergency housing for people that have, been displaced and literally lost everything. There's still many people living in temporary shelter and tents. Rural areas were devastated, and these people can't just leave, their livelihoods, which are on the land. So, in Australia, we have a vast amount of bushland, and so Habitat have got the Bushfire Resilience Program to help communities, prevent and be ready for bushfire season. So if you want to get involved in their bushfire resilience program, go to habitatforhumanity.com.au, and if you're in other parts of the world, you can still go to habitatforhumanity.com and look up how you can be involved. It's one of the best things you can do. But in Australia, specifically in New South Wales on the East Coast, the Southern Highlands and the Blue Mountains areas are really crying out for help, and not only will it be helping other people, but it's just a great way to help yourself and get engaged in the community and be of service to others. So let's do it. The other thing I always talk about is this episode is brought to you by Indosol Footwear. So these guys have been a sponsor of the show since episode 33. They are leaders in sustainable fashion. Indosol make epic sandals from discarded motor vehicle tyres. So if you're in the USA, Singapore, Europe or Australia, buy online at indosol.com and use discount code THT. You'll get a 15% discount and become an advocate for conscious consumerism. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks.
Yeah, good to be here, man.
Whoa. Dude, I'm Three, two, one. All right, let's do this. Ben, I'm so glad you like the intro. Shout out to...
Love beats.
Thanks, dude. That's original. My friend Athron in Bali wrote that. Shout out, Athron. Thanks for that. All right, so here we go. Now, today's guests are husband and wife team, Ben and Sarah Anderson. The Andersons, I guess, can best be described as environmentally proactive conservationists and urban market garden food farmers. They grow organic happy food in their biodiverse residential backyard known as Pope's Produce. Sarah is the head gardener, a passionate visual artist, and Ben, an ocean lover, avid surfer and teacher. And today, Ben and Sarah are with me live and on location in their amazing space to share their journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Sarah and Ben Anderson, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Shannon.
Are you head gardener?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Ben, what do you do?
Yeah,
What
I'm
do you
head
do?
gardener too.
Are you?
Yeah.
I look after most of the things to about knee height, and then Ben takes on the fruit trees and all the maintenance jobs.
Well, that's actually one of my questions. How important is it to actually delegate specific roles in your operation?
Hugely. It saves a lot of fights, and it plays to our strengths as well. So Ben's done an irrigation system for me. The whole orchard down the bottom is all Ben's work, and I can do different things on a day-to-day basis. The market garden was my brainwave, my kickoff, and then Ben loves building. He's not as excited about rocket as I am.
No, but I love fruit trees. So all the fruit trees I'm happy to eat from, nurture. I just got a little lychee. I had to spend 2 months chatting to it. It was going to die. I kept 3 leaves, transplanted from somewhere else. Really hard to get. It's an Erden Lee, which makes lychees about, bigger than a golf ball, like really, really nice ones. Now it's just got some sprouts on it, but trees are not Sarah's thing, and the veggie garden's not super my thing, but together it's a really good combo.
Like, would it be safe to say that you're tapping into your skill sets and your interests?
For me, interest first as the skill set has developed, because I wasn't a gardener when I started. I knew nothing. I had no business skill, no gardening experience. I went to a morning tea one day with some mates, and one was a wife of a gardener and the other one was a small business person, and they were talking about market gardening, and I was like, oh my God, I have a north-facing backyard. The Illawarra has heaps of rain. I'd like to get out of my store job that I had. I went, I will start a market garden. That's what I can do at home.
I'm going to put you on the spot. For those that don't know, just describe a market garden. What does that term actually mean?
A market garden is, well, in our context, is 800 square metres, and it's rows and rows and rows, so it's a uniform approach to growing food directly. We focus on leafy greens. Other market gardens will focus on root crops, fruits, whatever, so growing for a local audience, local eaters.
Amazing. So, like I said in the bio, you've created this amazing space in a residential area. I mean, you can both help me here. Can you just give us let's get a history and a chronological history of where it started and where it is now and how it got to where it is now and exactly what it is. So,
well,
yeah, I mean,
I'll try and keep it reasonably succinct, but we used to live a kilometre down the road in this beautiful old sandstone cottage and spent 10 years renovating it and building the gardens and habitat there for, frogs and lizards and whatever else. And then we got to a point where I had my contract being renewed, and I said to Sarah, we could do something different next year. And she's like, yeah, like what? And so we ended up deciding to sell the house. That was mostly Sarah's idea. I didn't want to let it go. And Sarah was like, just let it go. And we spent a year woofing around the world with our kids, who were 4 and 7 at the time. And we worked in about 9 different countries, just sampling amazing ways to do life. Like, there's so many gurus out there doing incredible things, and you just stay with them and get so inspired. And then we could have moved anywhere in the world, and we moved a kilometre up the road because one of the guys we worked with on Vancouver Island was this guru who just manifested his whole life. He just put it out there and focused on it, and it happened. And I don't know what was going on. There was some kind of magic, but it was working for him. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try that. So we sat down and we said, well, what are we looking for? And we kind of visioned a place, and then got back to Australia, and within 3 days of coming back to Australia, first day back in the Gong, this place popped up, and we just sort of stumbled into it, and it was quite a complicated story, but essentially it had sold, and then the finance for the guy who'd bought it had fallen through, and we didn't have as much money as they had, but we said, we just want to restore it. And the people who grew up here, they wanted to see it not developed. They wanted to see it more like a market garden again. And so they said, well, all right, we'll take what you got, and that'll do. And and so that was the 11th of the 1st of the 11th, and we are now coming up to the end of phase 1, which is going to end on the 22nd of the 2nd of the 22nd. I mean, why not? And so now we're trying to make more of a living from this place. We've put 11 years into it to build it to a point where we've learned a lot, and now we can share that with anybody who's interested.
Wow. Okay, there's a lot for me to unpack. Firstly, the size of this space, my initial reaction is, wow, this is right in the middle of a residential area. Now, most people would be inclined to develop, and I feel that you could have possibly 3 houses built, subdivided on the space.
Next door is the same size block, and they've got 10 townhouses. So, and that was with old urban density laws. Now it would be more.
Wow. I'm going to say it, like, that would be quite lucrative.
It's true.
How have you resisted that urge to maybe grab for money?
I don't know. You've got to be a man of your word, haven't you? The deal was that we were luckily delivered this place by the universe somehow or other, and I just want to honour that. We wanted to create a space that was inspirational and could spread sort of the good ideas we'd been blessed with to other people, to hopefully inspire them on their own environmentally increasingly aware journey.
Yeah. Wow. So you were that inspired by someone in Canada, in Vancouver Island, and that's what sparked the journey. So I am aware that it's based on the principles of permaculture, and I know Sarah Wood talking at the start, you said, the term permaculture can sometimes be a little bit intimidating to people.
It can be.
Why do you feel that?
Because for a lot of the information that's been out there so far, it's been about food forests and a little bit of the peace, love and mung beans approach to life. And it's been much more of a residential thing, or you need space, you need community. But what a lot of people don't realise with permaculture is you can apply it to a business, you can apply it to, your own life, you can apply it to your family. There are so many different applications for permaculture, but it's had such a historic way of being a very hippie alternative life form, but it doesn't have to be. So it's us explaining it along the way through our everyday actions of just multifunctional spaces, of using what you've got before you go and replace it, and all those core ethics of permaculture, but you just apply them to everyday life.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I get it. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I want to talk about the actual design of the space now. So you said it's 11 years established, okay, and I know you've got amazing fruit trees at the top of the space. Can you actually just describe the landscape and the topography of the actual site, and maybe give us an insight as to why various things are planted where they are in relation to that? I don't know.
Well, one of the aspects of permaculture that I love is the whole zoning thing. So, zone 0, it's your home. Zone 1 is the area immediately around your home, or the area you're visiting all the time. And then it spreads out into, zone 5 or 6, whichever it is, 5, which is like habitat that you're leaving for the rest of the ecological community, but not always accessing yourself. So because this is the block's 200 metres long and 20 metres wide, so it lends itself to very easily strategizing that way. So we've kept up around the house areas that need regular servicing, and then as we're working away from the house, we're getting to the fruit trees, which like the fig trees just behind me there. They produce 400 or 500 figs a year, but they're only on for 2 months. So you want them close by, but you don't need them at your back door.
Right.
So we just keep spreading it out like that. Then the market garden, that's almost Sarah's workplace. So that's fine to have more in that sort of zone a bit further away from the house. But also the house itself is north facing, and the land close to the house is all north facing. So it gets amazing sun all year round. So it makes sense to tap into that for growing purposes, whereas further away we're shaded out by some really large eucalypts. So that's fine for some seasonal crops, but you're not growing much there in winter.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other thing with the block is that it's north-south facing, and the house is on the southern edge of the block, and it's closest to the street access. So all the human habitat happens around the southern edge, but it's on a hill, so we're getting the light for the house and for the family, and then the workplace. And you need your workplace separate to your home life. So that's just starting down the hill a bit. So it's like a saddle.
Yeah,
it drops down, and then to the creek is the lowest point where it gets the cooler air in wintertime as well. And so the chill zone for the fruit trees. So that's why the trees, all the fruit ones, are down there, so that they get enough chill time to set their stone fruit.
Yeah, stone fruit and palm.
Gotcha.
Apples.
And then you have a harvesting schedule?
Yes, I harvest only once a week, and the market garden is based on community supported agriculture now, which means that people subscribe for the season and they pay up front, so the risk is shared between the customer and the grower.
the risk is shed?
Yeah, because, classic example, this summer I had 2 weeks where I couldn't harvest due to illness, and so I had to communicate with all my customers, really sorry, I can't hold up my end of the deal, I'm happy to refund you. And because our communication is so great and they value what we do so much, they said, just pay it forward. We'll, put a credit on next season, or thanks so much, illness happens, don't worry about the credit. Just run with it.
Amazing. So
Beautiful people.
So you're creating a community there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you feel like people in our society are more disconnected from their food than ever in general?
Generally speaking...
Sorry, before you go on, can I just get you to turn your mic into your mouth? That's better.
More
yeah.
there?
Yeah, sorry. That's right. It's fine.
I think they really are, because there's so much white noise going on all the time. Everyone's busy, like whether it's work or family, and they kind of look at food as just basically fuel for their body. They're not looking at the point of origin of the food. They're not looking at the seasonality of the food. There are shows, there are all sorts of things saying, eat this now, eat this much protein, this is, this colour, blah, blah, blah. And then they go hunting for what is recommended to them versus knowing their local seasonality and the local source of their food and what is available. Like, my mum lives in far north Queensland, and she's constantly saying, I can't get broccoli. It's a brassica, it's a wintertime food, it needs a slower temperature. That's why she's in a different context. And this is what we've lost so much contact with, is what is food for our area, which is food for us.
Yeah, I guess 60 years ago, nobody on Magnetic Island was looking for broccoli, you know what I mean? Because they just knew that's not what you get here. Mind you, they're feasting on mangosteens.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love mangosteens.
And they can grow cashews locally.
Can you grow mangosteens this in a subtropical, like where we are now?
A few more years of climate change will be all right, yeah.
Is that why the dragon fruit's happening?
Yeah.
Climate change?
And rain this year, I reckon, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain.
Because it's been a wet summer. Yeah.
Like, that's a good thing, right?
Yes and no. I mean, the weeds think it's a good thing, but it actually causes a lot of mildews and diseases on many of the trees.
Rust on my shallots.
Yeah.
Rust.
Rust, yeah. So you see these little orange spots. And so being fungal, it'll just spread through the crop.
Wow. I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
Okay. White butterflies?
Oh.
Are they like the devil? Are they little devils with white wings?
Yeah.
Ben brought me home a butterfly net one day because I refused to use chemicals in the garden. So I'm like a little 5-year-old running around trying to swipe at these white butterflies.
That's interesting. Yeah, the reason I asked that is because, like, I guess, I am passionate about health and well-being, and I am very cognizant of the fact that when you eat food that is locally grown and hasn't travelled very far, it maintains a much higher nutrient density. So I feel like a lot of people don't consider that when they purchase their food, and that makes so much sense to me on a fundamental level. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There have been reports done. So, and for example, an apple this day and age is 75% of the nutritional density of one from our grandparents' age, just because of common practices. And a gorgeous customer of mine has eaten certified organic for a number of years now, but he did the pendulum test to see the life force in his food, and he did it over a certified organic salad mix, and then over my salad mix, the certified organic had come from Queensland.
Yeah.
Mine, he can walk through and see where it's grown and pick his own leaves, and mine had a much higher life force to it because just the vitality of the soil, and it's local, it's so fresh. Like when I'm serving organic, like serving local cafes, so my wholesale customers, I can have it from the garden to their kitchen in an hour.
Wow, that's fresh. Yeah, okay, wait up. We've got to tell us about the pendulum thing. I'm sorry, I'm not a...
Hang on. You were
break
talking.
it down?
You were talking a bit Andy, peace, love, and mung bean.
Yeah,
now you're talking about pendulums. What's going on?
That's some woo-woo shit. I love it. Let's go. No, tell us, go. It's about density, right?
Well, a life force. I don't fully get it. This is the story he told me.
It's okay.
But so the whole pendulum swinging, people can ask a question and the pendulum responds to a universal energy, and that's what it told him.
Well, there's vibrations all through the air, yeah. But I mean, another thing, once someone told me, if you want to test how fresh an apple is, you squeeze the outside of the skin. If it wrinkles like I guess, like chicken skin, that means it's not that fresh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I do have to shop at, say, a mainstream commercial outlet, I'll do that all the time. And they look beautiful. The produce looks amazing on the shelf, but then I'll give it a squeeze and go, nah, doesn't look great. It's not great.
I think my all-time favourite story that I read forever ago, and the commercial food industry, Don Burke took a tomato on his show one day and played tennis against the wall with it, like from a supermarket tomato.
Oh my God. Right. And we eat it. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, again, like I just feel like that's just one message I want to advocate to people. Like, if for no other reason, like it's just such a good thing you can do for your health, let alone the sustainability of local growers, correct? Now, you've got this space to a point where you produce enough food to share amongst the community. Would you consider that a commercial project?
It can be. And there are growers out there doing it. If I have a few irons in the fire at the moment, so if I gave it more time, it could be. And also there's diversity as well. So between the market garden and then running workshops showing people how to grow their food, it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I guess, I mean, our income stream's pretty diversified. So, we're both working at schools, working with kids because we're passionate about, educating kids and giving them positive role models and a positive vision for the future.
Yeah.
And that the garden's not dangerous.
Yeah, getting them off a concrete path. And kids froth on it. They're so into, planting and harvesting and just digging a hole or cutting a branch with a saw. They just think it's the best thing in the world. Yeah. So it's really good to do that as part of our income, and then Sarah's income from the garden is great. That's just that helps, keep things ticking along. And then it's more than that though. Like when we've got a surplus of fruit, it's just a joy going next door, and we've got quite a lot of elderly residents, and just delivering them like this plum or apricot or fig or whatever that's just bursting with flavour and freshness, and seeing how much they appreciate it. That's what's it all about? It's all about well-being in the end, and that sort of is the income for your soul, I reckon.
Oh man, income for your soul, dude.
Everybody around here used to grow their own food because there wasn't an option. And talking to a school general assistant, he said if you didn't grow it, you didn't eat it. And there's a whole skill set that we've lost because we're relying on outsourcing all our nutrition. People will go to the doctor regularly, but they won't pay for something organic or something from the local markets. I'm like, what are you doing? If I'm a bit unsettled, Ben goes for the surf, but I go to the garden. I'm happiest when I have some soil under my nails, when I can have a dig in the garden and pick along the way. There is so much nutrition for the body and the soul in an edible garden space.
How are you constantly building soil? So can you give everyone a breakdown of your processes for soil building practices?
So the garden has been based on a no-dig garden technique. So we started it off just with the regular soil, and now we get all distractions. Now we get compost in from a local guy who's building it 20 minutes down the road. He is amazing. Compost, straw, wood chip, lots of organic material from locally, and I just build and build rather than turning the soil over and disrupting all the life force under the soil, so all the microbes, everything that's got this beautiful symbiotic relationship with the roots of the plants and helping break things down and building more soil. There's a whole realm under the soil, under our feet, that we have no idea about. So I'm trying to nurture the soil in order to nurture the life of our plants, and rainwater when possible means when it's not.
Okay.
Yep.
And you chop and drop?
I chop and throw it on the side or take it up to our compost waterfall. So when, say, the silver beet has gone to seed, I'd throw it on the side, and now I've got a great crop off to the side because the seeds were viable and the soil was right. It got rained on, and so now I've got a whole extra half row off to the side. So it's a little bit survival of the fittest. Everything stays on site. I would harvest the forecast for this season is 1.5 tons of food from the market garden from 800 metres squared. I have about a dozen customers a week over a 40-week season, plus what we eat and plus the surplus that we share.
Do you cap your subscribers?
I do, because I don't want to overcommit and underdeliver.
Okay.
So there's a small wait list, and everybody's like honorary family now.
Wow.
You know, I get messages a few weeks out, oh, can we please subscribe again? We're back from our camping. Really sorry. And this season too, someone will let me know that they can't make it.
Yeah.
So we've organised to pay it forward. So then they can nominate a mate to pick up for them, or I can find somebody else that will pick up, because plants don't stop growing for a week when you want to go on holiday.
Gotcha.
I'm still harvesting. I've got my whole list, my whole schedule, and I can't freeze it.
Yeah. I asked Ben this just before we started. I said, like, it's amazing space, but at times do you feel like you've created a beast?
Oh, yeah. I remember. I've got a gorgeous friend, a bit older than me, and she's like, do you think you've bitten off more than you can chew? I'm like, oh, yeah. But it's survival of the fittest. It's fun, and it's so lovely being able to share it. When we first moved, we did a lap around the block before we signed on the dotted line, and doing especially up the back, Ben, we're looking, we have 23 boundary neighbours.
Wow.
And Ben's like, oh, my God, there's so much work. And I came from a very small country town, and like, 23 neighbours, oh, my God, that's so many people. And so
many potential complaints.
yeah, totally. And so there's so many relationships to build and maintain in this suburban setting with something that we do that's off the chart to everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, nobody else can conceive of this, but now it's our backyard and it's our lives and it's an opportunity to share. But also we want to be custodians here and not just go, well, this is our fence, you can't have anything to do with it. We want to share it.
Okay, well, what's the key to maintaining good relationships then in this setting?
Oh, I think just being inclusive. So inviting people in, just accepting that you don't always know the best way, and being open to other people's desires and ideas, and and just the sharing. You know, whenever we have an event here, we know we're going to make noise. It's a small valley, so everyone's invited. And I think whether people come or not, they still feel honoured by that. And it's not like, hey, bugger you, we're going to do what we want. It's more like, hey, this is what we're doing. What do you reckon? Are you interested? Do you have you got any issues? And usually things resolve pretty quickly. You know, if somebody's got a problem with something, I'm open to listen, and then you work out a solution where everyone's happy.
People just like to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you communicate, just like they just want to know what's going on. I think that term inclusivity is key, right? Mm. You talked earlier, Ben, about that you've diversified your revenue streams as you have to make what you're doing sustainable. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting in this amazing structure that you've built on the site. It's a fairly small habitation accommodation that you've established. And it's, you mentioned to me, it's everything with would you say it's like 90% reclaimed?
It's 100% reclaimed where engineers will allow.
Okay, well, what does that mean?
So when you're supporting 50 tonnes of soil on the roof, engineers and council want to know it's not going to fall on anyone. So they go,
are we all right?
No, I think we're pretty good. So they said, right, you need a
50 tonnes
steel structure like this, you need a roof joist like this, and then from there you're kind of free to get creative.
How are you getting 50? How are you transporting 50 tonne into this? Like logistically, how do you get in the space?
Well, we were fortunate. What we did is we got savvy when we excavated. We set the spoil aside so we could redistribute a lot of it. So we've redistributed some. We've brought in some extra soil as well to top dress it with stuff that's good to grow. And I don't know if you've been up on the roof, but there is a lot of great stuff growing up there. It's a bit overgrown this season because this season's been a bit hectic for various reasons. Last year we were getting like 12 kilo watermelons off there. We're picking amazing zooks and cukes and strawberries and herbs galore. And initially I thought, that space up there, I'm not so sure. We'll just put green stuff up there to help insulate the building. But it's actually the most phenomenal growing space, and the soil profile is only 300 mils deep.
Right.
So somehow or other, we don't really irrigate it, but somehow or other it just thrives. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
I think it's ended up like a massive wicking bed because of the cells underneath it to drain the water when it does rain. They hold a minimum quantity of water in them. I've had fennel up there for a couple of years, and when it's hit the barrier, then the roots will just go off to the side, and the roots were as long as my leg.
No way.
Yeah.
But the original idea is to have soil on the roof and growth on the roof to insulate and self-regulate, and so it regulates the heat within the building.
That's a part of it, but also in an urban setting, especially in a dense urban setting, which we kind of aren't, a green roof just makes so much sense. You know, when you look at parts of Sydney especially, every roof should be a green roof, really. Yeah. So part of what I wanted to do here was to have a physical example, to go, look, you can do it. It does work. It's okay. You could try this.
Yeah.
And it's not a massive increase in the cost of a build. It definitely does increase the cost to some degree. But if your whole block is 300 square metres, why would you waste 100 square metres of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 200. So many new builds are just tile roofs, nothing going on.
With new builds, is it mandated now that they must have water catchment? They must have water tanks?
Depends on, you've got to meet basics requirements, the BASIX. And so that can be window size and insulation and water catchment and energy efficient measures. But there's a whole range of criteria, and you've got to make a standard in each of them to get approval.
Okay. But you obviously selected the correct plants to plant up there, though. That was a crucial decision.
Yeah.
No? Or was it? No, you're laughing, Sarah.
I am, because I was going to design it, and then I was taking my sweet time about it, and Ben went down and bought some native grasses. So we've got carricks around the perimeter of it.
Yeah.
They have gone to town.
No way.
And then they set seed heads, and they self-sow remarkably well up there.
Really?
So we've just got this hedge of Indigenous grass now, and I can dig it up. I've taken it to school. I've given it to maids, and it just goes on and on and on.
And you've got it around the border.
Yep.
So like a perennial, is that what it's called? And is that a safety thing as well?
Yeah.
So people don't fall off the roof?
Yeah, keep people back from the edge. Well, technically it's a non-habitable roof. So we only go up there for maintenance.
Maintenance, a.k.a. Friday beers.
Plenty of other places to have beers. Let's not get ourselves into trouble.
It's just got this vibe. Like, I mean, I don't drink, but I'm like, I want to just have beers out there, you know?
Even better is right up the
Picnics.
back with the bean bags under the
Right.
trees on the Friday afternoon, and you just look back over the whole area.
Yeah. Like, as you guys speak about it, I can see your faces lighting up.
Yeah.
Like, 11 years on, like, are you still, like, is the inspiration still there?
Totally blissed out. Like, who gets these kind of opportunities?
Totally blissed out?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, we've got drone shots up in the kitchen over the last 10 years. And for the first 6 months, I had to look at it daily because I'm like, where does this exist? And when I did my permaculture design course, and we have to do a plan at the end of the course, I was trying to get the scale right. And I trained in visual arts, but I had to keep adding piece of paper after piece of paper onto the end because it's such a long ribbon of a block.
It is.
That trying to get perspective and scale is really tricky.
Right.
So now it's kind of like we've got our whole backyard wonderland, and we can share it. And there are so many lessons. This land has taught me so much along the way.
About yourself?
About myself, about the land, about community.
What has it taught you about yourself?
How long have you got?
Let's go. Ryan?
It starts more about the food for me, because I grew up in a town where the greens were out of the freezer and into the microwave. You'd cover them with cling film, and you knew they were done when it would vacuum packed over the top and the potatoes would boil on the stove. So now, coming from no food cultural background, no history of knowing how to prepare a meal, to this, every day when you can go and pick something from the garden and shove it in your mouth, it's the whole world of happy that happens around having a skill set where you can nurture yourself and then you can share that gift with friends. You know, that used to be a survival thing, and now, like, not many people know how to grow food, don't know how to feed themselves.
True story.
Yeah.
I was with teenagers in a growing space at the school I was working at, and we grew cos lettuce, you know, And this kid said to me, like, he's seen it in the ground. He said, I've only ever seen that in a plastic bag at Woolies.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you know. And same with beetroot. I had someone say to me, I thought beetroot grew on trees. It's just like, okay, you know, like, but I think the generation, I know my parents' generation, growing food in your backyard was just commonplace. And a lot of it out of necessity. Do you feel like we're in a society that's become, I guess, for lack of a better term, like drunk on freedom and drunk on abundance?
I just think there are so many opportunities and there are so many things to try out that we're always reaching for the next thing, the next big thing, and to settle into yourself or to settle into your local community. For a lot of people, there's that FOMO, but why should I should have that job or I should have that experience? And finding contentment within yourself and within your own backyard or within a collective of mates, it's come to me through an age and an experience point of view. But for a lot of people, it's like, let's go to this restaurant. Let's go and travel down there for our weekend away. And it's always away and it's always more. And no doubt there are a lot of grandparents out there that'll go, oh, thank God I can go and buy that and I don't have to wait 4 months to grow it in the backyard.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, you know, it's a contextual thing. And I think we really need to build communities because some of our mates live in shady backyards and they don't care about growing food. I don't blame them. But if we can help share what our surplus and what we do, great, then they've got another skill set and that helps feed a wider community, whether it's plumbing or electrics or accounts or whatever. So we just really need to build those community hubs back up and share skills.
Can you remind everyone what the ethics of permaculture are?
Earth care, people care, fair share.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you two referring back to that regularly?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
Part of my business plan. Come on.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, like, what has it done for you, Ben, on a personal level? Like, if I ask you from where the mindset you were in when you first started to where you are now, what has it done for you?
Just working on that, being less selfish and trying to give more of yourself and share more of what you're blessed with. That's the hard thing, but it's always a balance. As a fellow surfer, you'll understand the ocean is always calling, and when it's offshore and you got to, you know, prune a fruit tree. It's pretty hard. Sometimes the fruit does drop on the ground, you know.
Does it put a strain on your relationship with the head gardener?
No.
The head gardener knows that without surf, life's just not worth it.
Well, to be honest, we haven't had an argument
that, Sarah.
ever. So we've
Go
been
back.
together.
Say that again.
We have never had an argument. We've never had a full-on a blue or a row. Or anything.
25 years.
Yeah.
You'll jinx it, dude.
Oh, well, spice things up a bit. I don't know.
I'm going to see if I can spark an argument now.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But that's because, you know, neither of us assumes we know the best or we have to be right or, you know, we're both in this together. And it's always been like that. You know, there's one bank account, there's one sort of shared vision, and we just keep trying to help each other along towards that.
But there must be times where you differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our strengths are so different to each other and our weaknesses are so different. So it's kind of like the whole yin-yang gig. There's a balance because we are so different to each other that we really value what the other person brings.
So there's just a real mutual respect.
Totally.
I mean, I don't want to press this too much, but I just feel like human nature is at times to disagree. Like, I mean, what are your strategies for that? There must be. Like
humour. Humour's really good.
Okay.
You can feel when the temperature's falling a bit or, you know, there's not quite as much conversation as there should be. And you know, one of us will just say something silly or rib each other one way or another and then it's all sorted. And, yeah, like it's all about communication.
I was going to say thanks. Yeah. It sounds cliche, but it really is.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know, I feel really inspired because I was like, I came here to talk about the garden, but now I think you're kind of a beacon for relationships around the world. Well, think about it. Like, never having like what you describe as an argument in 25 years.
I remember once.
What an achievement.
We were driving, we'd been driving, following the coast from Cornwall in England, England, pardon me, all the way down to the Sahara. And
Yeah.
we'd crossed over into Morocco, and I was stressed out because I couldn't get gas for the van, and we, we're in this foreign land, and I'm feeling really responsible for everything. And I think it's the only time Sarah just looked at me and just went, snap out of it. Like, look at how lucky we are. And I was like, oh my God, you are right. Look at that. Wow. Oh, thanks.
Dude, that's amazing.
That was about it. So,
Snap out. Oh, see, there's a lot of blokes who go, don't tell me to snap out of it.
yeah.
You snap out of it. I didn't snap out of anything. Like, sorry. Just giving an example of what an argument looks like because you don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, we've got children. We know what arguments look like. 15-year-old boy.
Oh God.
Well, how have your children accepted what you do?
Well, I think it's great. They, as much as they deny it, they can walk through anybody's yard and know what half the plants are and know what to pick and when to pick it and that sort of stuff. So it's ingrained in them. They also are roped into helping around here, and that's because I know when I was their age, it was completely what I didn't want to know. I couldn't care less about the garden. I just want to hang with my mates and surf and do other stuff. But I look back on that time now and I was like, oh, I really wish I'd tapped into mum and dad's knowledge back then. So they're getting that knowledge whether they want it or not. And they don't get too much of it, just a little bit, just bits here and there. And, Tom can help prune a tree, Tom can mow the lawn, Tom can help build a rock wall, Zoe can weed gardens and plant and harvest and actually help Sarah with the harvest sometimes, So we play to their strengths and their interests, but they still get a bit of a smorgasbord.
But you're not pushing them. Oh, excuse me.
I was just going to share a really cute story that I can in a minute about having volunteers here because it is a big property and there's a lot of jobs to do. For the first 8 years pre-COVID, we would have volunteers help exchange international people stay and do 4 hours, 5 hours of work a day for food and accommodation. So it was a cultural and energy exchange with these people travelling. And then Tommy scored a little part-time job a few years back, and in this workplace he saw that they had some other travelling tradespeople with them and they were staying in the showroom on Lolo's on the floor in a surfboard factory. And Tommy went to his boss and go, we've got space at home. They can come and stay at ours. Oh, yeah.
See, the seeds are planted.
Totally.
Is it safe to say they're not as excited about the space as you?
Definitely. Yeah,
But do you sort of feel deep down that when they get older, they're going to actually then appreciate what you guys have done?
I think that's part of it, but also
that's the payoff.
Yeah. Also, all their friends know they're super welcome here, and they're often coming down for they'll hang down here and have parties with their friends, and so I think it's paying off in different ways, and down the track, I definitely believe it'll give them a bit of a head start if they are lucky enough to be custodians of their own piece of the planet.
Because, sorry, go, Sarah. Are you going to say something?
I was going to say, even though Tom says he doesn't like vegetables, but after a trip one year and it was, lots of fast food, lots of camp food, he'll deny it. But he said to me, I can't wait till we get home and can you please cook me some vegetables?
Really? How interesting. It's funny.
Yeah.
So, it's in him. Now, this is a bit of a tricky question, but I have to ask it. I mean, it's an amazing space, an amazing legacy, really. Do you ever think about how the future of this space may look, and would it be a case of handing it down to your children to continue one day?
Yeah, look, I think, well, this is where phase 2 is coming in. It's like, okay, we've worked out a 10-year plan, which became 11 years. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then we're kind of into the next thing. So we're actually planning a bit of a party next month to get everyone together to go. Because when we first got this place, we just got these huge sheets of paper and said, what do you reckon we should do here? And just got everyone to put in their own ideas.
Who's everyone, sorry?
Oh, just friends and family and whatever, yeah. Just and there were some wacky ideas. But actually a lot of them I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, right? So the next phase is probably, that phase of your life when your kids leave home and they go out and do their own thing. and we'll be able to, you know, make a return on accommodation here, courses here, and focusing our energy less on our kids and more on, you know, the people who are interested in learning about this sort of stuff. And then there'll probably be a phase after that where we'll be getting on a bit, and the place will keep us fit. So that's a good thing.
Definitely.
But probably trying to do it by ourselves will be difficult. So that's where I'd love to see, you know, my ideal is people will pay money to come here and work.
Gotcha.
And that sounds like, oh, that's a bit cheeky. But what they'll actually do is they'll come here to learn and put it into place. Kinesthetic learning. I mean, you know all about that.
And take the skills with them.
And take the skills with them. So it's not like go and sit in a classroom and, you know, watch a PowerPoint. It's like, okay, come and sit in the building and watch a PowerPoint. Now we're going to go do it. Here's how you clear a bed. Here's how you plant a bed. Here's how you harvest from the bed. Here's how you process the harvest. Here's how you look after a bush area. Here's how you build sustainably. Like a whole suite of experiences.
Like a full-on educational space.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in my mind, it's just, I see it as a flagship for so many communities to learn from.
Yeah.
I mean, just personally, I kind of feel like you should be doing that now.
We're getting to it.
Yeah.
But the whole
When the time's
goal
right.
is not to go, this is what you should do. It's like, here's a bunch of ideas. This is what we found. Take what you like.
Yeah, definitely. Because I just think that these ideas, when I reflect upon the data around physical health in our world, you know, people are getting sicker, people are getting, and mental illness, it gets spoken about a lot, but you can't sort of argue with the data around mental illness as well. I feel like there needs to be this, you know, this circle back to the simplicity of living and the basic fundamentals that sustain a human. I feel like they're being lost more and more. So that's why I feel like you guys are so important, okay? Because not a lot of people are doing what you're doing. Yeah.
I've started dipping my toe in the water with that one, in as much as looking at garden therapy for mental health. And I've actually done a little bit of work with Eve Project and coming up to do another course with them this year. So as they're rebuilding their program, well, they're building their program and they've got lots of lovely clients participating in that one, watching the joy and watching people connect back with an outdoor space is just so fulfilling.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I look at you two guys, and it's like I don't want to know your ages, but I just see two very healthy, vibrant people, you know. And you said, "Oh, like we'll be getting older, we get to the point." But I just feel like that point of you being too old to work the space is like a long, long way away.
Yeah, I hope so.
And it's a product of good living, right?
Yeah.
Like that's inspiring in itself.
It's contentment. Like we found what we want to do. We've got our lifestyle. So our whole career trajectory is based around lifestyle. It's not based on a dollar value.
Such a good quote. Like I just want to quote that right now. There's a meme, picture of you going, based on lifestyle, not a dollar value.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of like you work super hard till you're 65 and then you retire and play golf every day, which is what we're sort of encouraged or is seen as the norm. I just think that's really dangerous. I've seen people work really hard, retire, play golf for a month and go, I'm really over golf now. And then they get bored. And when you're bored, that becomes, then you just start getting angry with the world, and then that anger leads to bad health. And so I think it's really dangerous that people sort of sell their youth for this thing that they're going to get one day. But at the same time, you still need to pay the bills. So how do we get back to that balance of being able to have time to do what you want to do and contribute to society and live your life now, not when you're 65 plus?
And you're like, I can do it. We can do it. Who says we can't? Yeah.
Teams and communities, like, you know, having great relationships, you can't do anything in isolation. Doesn't work.
No,
But maybe you don't need the latest Tesla. You know, maybe my 20-year-old Prius that's done 400,000 kilometres is okay. And okay, it doesn't look particularly flash, but maybe that's not as important as that barrel I got out sanding that day.
That's right. Can't get that moment back.
Can't get it back, you know.
And they're hard to find, those moments too.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, like,
what I love, and you said at the very start, Sarah, is that, you know, we're not tree-hugging hippies, mung bean eating yoga instructors in a garden. You work as a teacher in the public education system. So, you know, how are you bringing, you know, these philosophies into the public system?
Well, the kids I work with are often kids at risk. So we deliberately take these kids out of class and put them in smaller groups to come and work in the garden or to build structures around a school or maintain the school. And what that does is it gives them an opportunity to shine, because a lot of these kids, they're intelligent, but they're not academically inclined. So they can get out there and actually, you know, wield tools or plant, process, harvest, whatever, to a really high level where some academic kids would struggle. So that gives them a sense of well-being, and I think it's that sort of permaculture ethic of, you know, value the margin. These kids have a lot of potential for growth because they are marginal. So by valuing and honouring that, it gives them a chance to shine, and then that, you know, they've found that whole early action for success program, that if you actually give kids a bit of sense of worth at a younger age, they can believe that they can do something great, and then they often do.
Amazing. I love that you said they're intelligent but they're not academic, and that's so sad because so many young people leave school feeling like they're not intelligent because they didn't succeed academically. You know, it's amazing that you're doing that. And I think there's other people in the school systems in Australia who are really trying to do that. And it's there's a shift, but again, it's cultural change to make. It's such a long process. And
schools are such sausage factories where it's like, okay, we're going to build a one-size-fits-all, which actually doesn't really fit anybody. But how else do you do it? It's got to get to a point where you kind of go, you know what, that teacher, they're an amazing guitar player and singer. And the kids that come out of that class are actually going to get a bit more musical talent than that teacher over there who's like an amazing woodworker. But they're going to get that and be okay with a diversity of product rather than this sort of idea of homogeneity.
Yeah, that's a good word. I mean, and also, I guess being groomed for the next institution that they might want to go to, like, and then that next institution can sort of dictate the structures below it. I think that's a hard thing to change, but it's definitely not all doom and gloom. Like, it's so nice to know there's someone like you in the public education system. And Sarah, same with you. Can you give us a background about what you do aside from the garden?
I volunteered for 4 years at my kids' primary school, and I worked with a stage 3, so a year 6 teacher, an hour every Friday for a couple of years, and just kind of kept their little garden going along. And that was great because I'm not a trained teacher, and what I found in the end, it was non-competitive, non-academic. They could work at their own pace. They could do it solo or they could do it in a group. One kid made up their own job he was like a little ever-ready bunny. He just needed to go. So he set up his mates. There was a wood chip pile. We needed to mulch beds. They'd get the wheelbarrows out, fill them, put up, you know, another kid would sit down on the other end of the length of the garden, and they'd have to do these relay races and then go and dump it on the garden to burn off extra energy. And one day, like, I'd try and write up a little bit of a program the day before I'd go in and volunteer, and the teacher was just so happy because he would retrofit whatever I did into his schooling program for that Friday morning. And I'd run out of ideas, and I'd been watching TV the night before and saw Survivor. So I was like, right, the kids are going to do group work today. Yeah. I'm going to write a Survivor challenge for them and set out all these points where they had to collect sticks, they got their bean seeds, and they had to all establish in their own groups over the 1 hour session, like these snow pea teepees.
Amazing.
And, you know, they had to find their own location. What did the plant need? And then over the next weeks, months, they got to see if their idea, their approach worked.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun.
End product.
Yeah.
I remember I was at the Green School. I had a class, I called it Permaculture PE. And every PE lesson we had to build a no-dig garden because we had all this garden space. And kids were like, this isn't PE, it's gardening. I'm like, okay, let's do a lesson. Let's see if you get a workout. Like, this is your activity. And like, yeah, and they're exhausted. They're pushing wheelbarrows of compost around and carrying big bundles of straw. And and hay and digging and shoveling and it is a workout,
Yeah.
But I mean, I was in a really ideal situation because the class sizes were like 7 kids.
Brilliant.
So it was easy to manage.
Yeah.
But it is logistically, it's so much harder when you have big class sizes and less support. I think that's what deters a lot of teachers from experimenting and progressing that way.
But there's so much push on teachers to do so much more, like data gathering and reporting, and it's a really tricky position at the moment. I think teachers are just asked so much of, and it's hard to expect them to then be creative enough to go, right, we're going to do a permaculture PE lesson. Not everyone's they're just struggling to hose out fires. They're not being proactive. They're being reactive. So
yeah, exactly. That's the word.
How does the system change to allow that creativity, which is what teachers are so good at?
I know how it changes. Teachers leave the profession, and then they have no one. They have no teachers, and that's what's. I'm sorry, but that's what's happening. It becomes extreme action can be necessary when that much pressure is put on. But that's what's happening right now. The profession's losing so many teachers, precisely like what you said. Is that the time to plan is becoming less and less, and they're just having to react to all the other things they need to do, and planning their lessons falls down the list of priorities because they've got to meet these other expectations, and if they don't, it's mandated, or it's like an expectation professionally, and then they can get in trouble for it and they become liable. So
I think with primary schools, especially because I work in a local primary school 1 day a week, my badge says garden coordinator, so the classes come out to me, which is awesome. But if there was more buy-in from the local community, if parents got more involved, because the school that I'm at, it's a preschool up to year 6, and one of the preschool support staff is saying she's photo documenting the kid doing everything during the day, sending it home, and they're not getting any feedback, but that's a significant part of her role, is to document and report to the family through whatever drive and everything else that they have to do. So it's harder for her to engage with the kids, and then when the parents and the households aren't getting involved with the students, it's kind of like shooting it off into the dark.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, so if parents were more engaged and joined like a PNC or volunteered some time or just made eye contact and asked some questions during the day, great.
I think a lot of parents are just under duress.
Massively.
They're at duress. People are under, mortgage stress, financial stress, working long hours to maintain their financial obligations. We pay people to look after our children when they're young. These are really big concepts, and I don't have the answers to change them. But I think we can change them. The solution isn't as hard as we think. But
I reckon, in terms of environmentally sort of sustainable stuff, time is the enemy of sustainability.
Why?
So, because this building's a perfect example. If I had enough time to find a solution using a reclaimed, recycled, salvaged, whatever material, I could do it. Absolutely. But if I had to get it done by a certain time, then you end up at Bunnings. Yeah. So, but when you've got the time, you can find a sustainable solution.
Or do you procrastinate more? You know what I mean? Can you ever have enough time? People, I don't have enough time. Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like we can always make excuse for, I don't have time to do this or that. Or is it just a self-management thing?
It's the time and the drive, because
time and drive.
Ben retrained as a builder to take on this project, aside from having a paid gig and being a parent and having his own interest, and retrained in a skill set that he was passionate about. So he found the time to do it, and then would find every 10 minutes to work out what material is best using for the roof, how to do this glassing, how to use this resource, because he's so passionate about it.
Dude, Ben, it's epic. And can you just describe some of the materials that are in here? You mentioned at the start, aside from the roof being a garden.
Yeah,
on top?
well, underneath that's a recycled dance floor.
I was going to say, like, you said there's a dance floor on there? Like,
So,
what?
so the ceiling's clad in X dance floor, which is some fantastic aluminium product, aluminium and plastic product, very lightweight and very flexible and functional. And then supporting that, all these timber beams you can see are actually out of an old school gym. Beautiful salvage timbers.
Amazing.
I mean, there's so much. Well, there was so much timber being thrown away. A house is somebody wants to build a new house, they just crunch up the old one, chuck it in a truck. But interestingly, because of the pandemic and interruptions to supply chain, what's happened is a lot of the builders are actually picking houses apart and reusing materials. And a local mate of mine said, mate, we used to just crunch it and chuck it. And now we absolutely reuse everything. He goes, I don't know why I didn't do it before. It's so good. I feel so good about it, and I'm saving money.
Saving
and
a fortune.
And you're like, yeah, well done.
People think they think it's too much effort.
Yep.
It is more effort.
Oh, it's definitely more effort. And, you're working with twisted timber and you're working with things that don't want to form right angles. But what you get is a result that's handcrafted and has a different feel to it. And there's a different energy to a plank of wood that's had a life and is now getting a second life, as opposed to a perfectly new thing. And look, some people, it doesn't suit them. They want it new and straight and clean, and other people just love the quirkiness of.
But I don't think it's quirky. I the second I walked in, my first reaction was like, this is classy. You know, that's the vibe it's got off. Like, to me, like, it's, I'm looking at all these different types of hardwood. Everything's very neat and very clean and tidy. I mean, it's mud brick walls.
Mud brick covered in this clay is just a local clay that falls out on the beach. So I made up a paint out of a white clay. I mean, all the tiles are tiles that are left over from other jobs that people were getting rid of on Gumtree, or Gumtree's fantastic for that. I think Facebook Marketplace is I don't do Facebook, but I've heard that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
But there's all those materials out there, and it's great that there's now avenues to get them into people's hands if they've got the time to chase them down. And that's the thing.
They do have the time.
That's it. When the kids go to bed, you get onto Gumtree, you spend an hour combing through looking for bits and pieces that you need.
Like scavenging. Really.
Yeah.
Scavenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So that's where you're finding most of your resources.
Yeah, a lot of them. Side of the road is fantastic for things. And then also, once people hear about what you're doing, you just have conversations about what you're doing, and people go, "Oh, a mate of mine's getting rid of all of these bits of plywood. Do you want some of those?" Or there's things out there for sure.
If you discount the time you spent, ultimately it has been cheaper.
Oh, massively. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a wall of mosaic tiles, which are shell mosaics in the bathroom that are just out of this world. They're beautiful pearlescent things, and I think they're like $150 a square metre kind of thing. And I got enough to do the whole bathroom for like $50 or something.
No.
Yeah. So they're out there, because builders have to order more than they need to make sure they can get the job done on time, and then there's surplus, and eventually you can only store so much surplus. So
Wow. And you also said there's a little bit of magic in it. You seem to find the resources you need, like when the time's right. Is that right?
It's
sometimes.
I would say 90-something% of the time. Like, it's very weird the way things happen, and you're like, probability sort of dictates that this shouldn't go like this.
Gotcha.
But it does. Like, just things turn up when you need them. But maybe part of that's being creative enough to find alternative uses for things, and again, that comes back to time.
I'm still going to challenge you a little bit on time. I think a lot about time. I do. I don't know. I just feel like, is it time or priorities?
Absolutely.
And it's like you can like we have that word. Oh, I can't because I'm too busy. Or I can't. I don't know. I disagree. I don't have an exact solution to it, but I do feel like it's up to you to make some serious decisions about what is actually serving you in life, and where should you be spending your time. I don't know. it's different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for us too, we grew up with that whole career path. You work 5 days a week, you work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You forget about the commuting, you forget about all the other jobs or running the kids around, how many hours a week you lose going to sport or to this or to that. So it's creating the lifestyle that you're choosing that might swim against the tide of what everybody else is doing around you.
And that's scary.
What's
Yeah.
Can be, yeah.
Sarah's take on it now? It's not what I have to do; it's what I get to do.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So I don't have to mow the lawn today. I get to mow the lawn today.
You guys are just
Trying to rephrase it.
you guys are
Talk
like,
to me at about 8:30 right before my bedtime. The kids are like, oh, Mum's had a juice now.
yeah, I can imagine, yeah. Because but I love it. You guys are just a good vibe, eh? Like a really good vibe. But listen, it's been epic. I just want to ask one last question, and it's like, and you've kind of answered it, but maybe I can go over it again. Like, but what's next for you both? What's next for you in life in general? Like you said, you maybe is retirement. Like, what's next in the immediate future?
Oh, never retiring.
Never retiring.
No,
Ben's
I
biggest
don't
fear.
Ever want to retire. But to me, retirement means kicking back with nothing to do.
Okay.
I want to be productive and then just fall over.
Dude, that's what I want to do. Same.
Just
Yeah.
keep going, keep surfing, but keep building on this opportunity and sharing that as best we can, and trying to, I don't know, get other people to realise that there's, you don't need to be incredibly intelligent or incredibly skilled to do this sort of stuff. You just need to have a go. So I don't think I'm particularly smart, and I don't think I'm particularly capable, but I don't mind having a bit of a go. And often you surprise yourself. You're like, oh, well done, Ben. You did all right.
Totally.
so getting other people to realise they can have a go and seeing where that leads them.
Yeah. Would you say it's the key to your happiness?
I think I'll always be a teacher. I love teaching people things or sharing knowledge. That's something that gets me really excited.
You like seeing people have a light bulb moment?
Oh, it's
the
just
best,
that's
dude.
the best. Yeah.
It is the best, hey?
Yeah. That's just that giving them something that they can take with them and improve their own life is just like, yeah, what better gift can you give?
Legend. But it must be good to stand back or sit where you're sitting and look around and go, yep, I built this all myself.
Oh.
I have it a little bit with my back deck all the time. Actually, no, I have it all the time. I sit out there and I go, and it's so small compared to what you like, but I'm just like,
But it's such a treat, like having
Yeah.
that opportunity to be able to create something and giving yourself permission to have a go at it as well. Not like, I don't have to marry up with anybody else's standards. I'm doing this because I'm curious and I'll see where it leads.
amazing. Amazing. You don't have to marry up with anyone else's standards. There's another meme.
I want
gonna
to get
start up
another
a meme.
badge made up for my skirt that just says perpetually curious.
Dude, you are. I can tell. It's almost like that's what I love about you too. There's like this element of like childlike enthusiasm for life. Like that's the key to life, isn't it? I think.
What was it? You said naivety was your superpower
Totally.
or something?
I think, and also when you are naive, I think that is a superpower because you do make yourself vulnerable sometimes in social situations or just in life situations. Like when you take on a project that you don't know what to do, you're vulnerable. But I think that vulnerability is a form of strength.
Huge.
I say it all the time, and I've learnt it myself. Like if you're brave enough to make yourself vulnerable, like that's a superpower. That's power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about naivety too is you don't know what the rules are or conditions around it, so you just have a go because there's no pre-existing standards.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. You can set the standard. See, these are the words of leaders.
What is it? The more you step outside your comfort zone, the bigger it gets.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
I've heard if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room.
Yeah,
I've heard that
that's
one.
a goodie, yeah.
That's simply, I've never heard that one.
So yeah, it's about continuing to step out of our comfort zone, I guess, and try and keep expanding what we can learn and therefore what we can share.
And it's generating abundance too, whether it's sharing the trampoline or having mates over or sharing surplus or ideas, and then asking other people to be invited because they've got a skill set or they've got something they can bring. So it's just building what we want to see.
Yeah. Lovely. And connecting with other humans in a positive way. It's so good. So good. Listen, I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause that they want to support or advocate for. It can be like a charity, it can be a philosophy on life, which you've just given us like an abundance of, but or it can be a social enterprise. But is there anything off the top of your head you can think of that you want to advocate for? Like you mentioned the Eve Project before.
For me, the Eve Project, because I think if someone's on their back foot, to be able to offer a hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up and help them re-educate, retrain, fabulous work, and to be able to look after people that are a little bit more vulnerable or a little bit more exposed in the community. You know, that should be an obligation that everybody is nurtured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Equity.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to have your own one, but if you have one.
I love the philosophy of waves for water.
Oh, yes.
You know, Kane Sisson's an amazing guy, and all the people involved with that. But just this whole idea of, you know, working together to generate enough income to give a product to people where they can go overseas. And I went to Cambodia with a bunch of these filters that they have, which filter all the literally muddy puddles into drinking water. And they're
mind-blowing.
Reversible filters, so you can flush them and reuse them. And they can do, I'm forgetting the stats, but I think it's enough water for 100 people for 5 years or something like that.
From one filter?
From one filter. So when I went to Cambodia, my mum had done some charity work there, so we went into a village, and I literally scooped up a bucket of water out of their like pig drinking pond.
Are you serious?
Filtered it through and drank it, and the locals were like, all right, this guy reckons they work.
No way.
Still alive, but
Dude.
So we put those into use in the village there, and apparently they're really going well. But just that whole philosophy of the waste of water will go, you're going to Indo, okay, you're going to a remote area, here's some filters. You don't have to buy them or anything. You can if you like, but they will actually give them to you through the money they've raised to distribute, and the onus is on you to distribute and share it. And I just think that's such a lovely, trusting model. It's really cool.
Yeah, and to travel with purpose, it just enhances your travel experience. Like, I guarantee you connected with those people in the village 1,000 times more than someone who just, you know, turned up on a bus, took some photos and bailed. You know, and then you probably have like these amazing experiences and more fun, and it's just more fun.
Yeah. See a different way of life.
These are amazing themes. And if you scroll down in this episode, I'll have links for the Eve Project, which has actually been advocated by past guest Evie. So it's two people to advocate for that project now, which is amazing. And there will also be a link to Waves for Water, which has actually been advocated for by numerous guests. So there's a common theme there. So go down, click on, see how you can support those two initiatives. And there'll also be a link to Habitat for Humanity, which is, again, really in line with both of the projects that you guys have just sort of advocated for as well. And it's local, and you can go and donate your time and energy to doing some good in the world, and get the good vibes, longevity. And next thing, actually, you can find this episode on terriblehappytalks.com, and also all the major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio now, and TuneIn Radio, which is really, really great for me to get this podcast on those platforms. So please, whatever platform you prefer to listen on, it always helps if you subscribe and maybe leave a comment. Give me some feedback. Tell me if give me some ideas about where I can go with the podcast, or how I can improve it, or what you love or what you hate. I'm open to listen. Just be nice about it. Just be kind. The next thing is I've got a prayer. Be kind. I've got a present for you guys. I've got some T-shirts for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know what sizes you are, but I just grabbed a couple. So
Awesome.
you get Terrible Happy Talks. So I got a medium. Do you want a medium?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Is white okay? Well,
We'll soon find out.
It'll get dirty in the garden, but I thought it'll reflect the sun.
Exactly.
There
Thank you
go.
so much, Shannon.
And then I got what is it, large? You reckon you're more of a large?
Sounds great. Thank you. I'm
Well, that's
grateful.
extra large.
Awesome.
Extra large, are you?
Oh, definitely not.
Oh, look at that. You both got matching white ones, so that means you can wear them together when you
Ben
go
will
out.
be white for ages, and mine will be the rainbow colour in no time flat.
Thanks, man. That's lovely.
That's
of you.
a treat.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and thanks so much for coming and just letting us talk about stuff. It's really it's lovely just being able to share ideas.
Oh, dude, I'm so grateful for the inspiration, you know? Like it's... And again, I said this to you, Sarah, at the start. It's like, it's people such as yourselves who I just would like to give a bit of an opportunity to share without interruption, you know, what they're doing and hopefully have some influence, you know, and maybe plant some seeds.
Building communities.
Yeah, build community. So last thing I want to ask is, like, let's say, what would you say to someone who would like to come and have a look at the space or subscribe? What's your advice there? Because I know there's some boundaries for you.
Yeah, just please email me or check out popesproduce.com. Send me a message. I'm happy to show people around, and I'm happy to share whatever information I've got, because I started from ground zero of no knowledge, and I'm more than happy to help people get on their way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
it's also good to have an exchange. So, I mean, if we keep giving and we don't get anything back, then it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So that's where we'd like to do more of those sort of courses, or Sarah does
Volunteer days every now and again.
volunteer
get a few jobs
days,
done.
tour and tea, that sort of thing. So, you know, just a nominal fee to help subsidise our time, because we've still got to put food on the table and pay bills, and there's ways to do that.
Ben should look after the business.
Keep it circular. Yeah, it has to be like, I mean, have you heard of green entrepreneurship? You know?
No.
Well, yeah, it's a challenging one, because it's like, is it too entrepreneurial? Like, is it wrong to maybe make an income or a profit from these kind of things? These were big conversations at the Green School when I was working there.
Well, this is what I came across through permaculture: is right livelihood and for purpose. And, you know, you have a right to be, you know, remunerated for your skill set that you've spent so many years building.
Yeah.
Doctors, lawyers, they get remunerated for their training.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
But we also want to do as a pay-as-you-can philosophy.
Pay as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, someone's
that-
got plenty of cash and they want our time, cool, help. If they don't have much and they need help, well, just whatever. You know, pay us a few hours weeding or something.
Well, that's an equity model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Equity. All right, we'll leave it there. See you. Oh, I missed,
Thanks.
actually,
Thank you.
Ben and Sarah Anderson, everybody. Let's go.